Thank you for joining ETRAGE's webinar. You can find future webinars at etrage.com under events. A few housekeeping items for today. Everyone is muted. If you have a question, please use the Q&A icon. A recording will be available on our website later this week, as well as our YouTube channel. I am Sinead Kimbrell, and with me is Ephraim Pullen. We've both been working with PTC products for over 10 years. Myself on the sales side, and Ephraim as a technical wizard, especially for Windchill, as well as our ETRAGE Windchill extension applications. Today's agenda, we'll do a quick introduction of who ETRAGE is, and then I'll hand things over to Ephraim to walk us through an ETRAGE drawing notes search demo. After that, any questions that you guys have, please, again, submit those at the Q&A icon, and we'll answer as many as we can as time allows, and then we'll have to say goodnight. So ETRAGE is a global company with over 20 years of experience in helping customers adopt PLM throughout their enterprise. So this includes engineering, manufacturing, quality, purchasing, and even vendors and suppliers. ETRAGE is focused on PLM adoption for small, medium, and large companies that design and manufacture products. We help tackle challenges in digital thread adoptions by eliminating data silos, integrating legacy data, supporting standardization and automation, enforcing data governance, providing PTC training, addressing scalability, and mitigating security risks. We address systems, we address management needs, as well as end user adoption, like we will cover today with our search tool. Today, we're looking at finding the correct drawings more reliable and quicker. Additionally, ETRAGE, being a software development company who does partner with PTC around Windchill and Creo and have done so for 20 plus years, you can check out past webinars on our website and YouTube for specific solutions. Some of our products you can see up here. Today we'll cover some of our viewer, but mostly focus on drawing note search. Additionally, we provide services around Windchill, cloud hosting, managed services, upgrades, and as I said earlier, training on various PTC topics within Creo and Windchill. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Ephraim.
Great. And welcome everybody to today's webinar, the Creo drawing notes search tool. So we know for every product development process, it is sometimes very difficult to search for the product data in a PLM system for entities or departments that are not part of engineering team. So it's very difficult to find things like BOM that the purchasing department will normally require to source material and components. And also the technicians on the shop floor when it comes to engineering specification or information about how a product is manufactured or the finishing is done on the product. That information normally sits with engineering team or in the engineering drawing. And to be able to find that data, they need to do that through the engineering department. And again, if there is any new changes or change orders that comes through, it is difficult for them to see the new changes unless if they have now to go back to the engineering team again to get the latest information. And also, if I need to do comparison between different revisions, you cannot do that if you're outside of engineering department or you do not have access to the product data that is in the PLM system. So you still rely on the engineering team to get that information for you. So information such as material and vendor sourcing, which is very important to procurement department, they still rely on the engineering to get that sort of information. So who is actually looking for this product development information? So in the main is normally the bolded list on this list here, but also, I mean, the entire list would require some sort of information because they would be part of the product development. So I'll go through each of this to just explain why certain departments will need, or what could be the reason why they would need the drawing information or the drawing notes information from the engineering data. So for the design and the product engineers, as we know that the drawing notes are often contain critical details about the material, tolerances, and specific instructions that may not be fully captured in the visual elements of the drawing itself. So searching for this notes or drawing notes ensures that designers accurately interpret or communicate the requirements of the product. Then with the purchasing or procurement department, they may need to search for drawing notes to ensure accurate procurement of material and components. So they need to source out this materials and components. So they need to be able to have access to that data to get that information. For example, notes might also specify a specific vendor number or a specific supplier which the purchasing must source correctly to make sure that they align with the engineering requirements. The other one being the production planners. Drawing notes would often contain the critical data for them, such as manufacturing processes that aren't fully captured in the main drawing itself. So the drawing will show different views, but they wouldn't normally capture how the product is actually being manufactured. So to capture such information, we use a note in the drawing to do that. So they need to make sure that these processes align with the design requirements. So and again, I mean, for the production planners, drawing notes might highlight unique requirements such as specific tools, features, or testing procedures, which they might need to account for when they are doing the resource allocation or the scheduling of the resources for the development of the product. Manufacturers or manufacturing department, on the other hand, they'll require information about product specifications. So things like material types, they would need for that, the tolerances or surface finish requirements. That's the information that they require. And again, there could be instructions captured on the drawing notes, such as assembly steps or the procedure on how to weld certain components together, or it could also be some special handling of the material or the components. So an example in most of the cases could be that a node might specify a non-standard heat treatment process that if you miss that, you might have a part that fails. So you want to make sure that you capture all those special instructions on the drawing notes. So this allows the efficient searches, which in turn saves time and obviously reduces miscommunication between design and the manufacturing department. Quality, on the other hand, I mean, there's details in the notes as well, like tolerance in materials, requirements that must be checked to make sure that they conform to the compliances that are needed around the material. And again, if a product fails inspection, quality may search drawing notes to identify if there's any discrepancies between the manufactured part and the design intent of it, things such as the missed features or an incorrect dimension that might have been specified on a drawing. Manufacturing technicians, they might need to search for the production process guidelines that are available on there. Then now, the finance mainly for them would be for budget monitoring. especially if there's a change or to material that needs to be used, or a change to the manufacturing process, which might require that we source out or we create a new tool for that material. So they might want to check if that particular change, falls within the budget and the timeframes. Test engineers also, in some of the notes, you might want to include specific instructions for how you want to test the finished product. Under things like the conditions, the parameters, or the acceptance criteria. So some of the information in the notes could help the test engineers to be able to define those test cases. For someone like a field technician who would have to go out there and install the product on the customer side, they might need access to the instructions captured on the drawing, installation procedures that they'll need to reference when they're on site to ensure that the work aligns with the design intent. Also, information that helps them with troubleshooting will also be in that in the drawing. Will normally be found in the drawing. Marketing may need this information as well to create accurate promotional materials, such as descriptions, visuals, and ads that highlight specific product attributes, while sales, on the other hand, might need to pull some details from the drawing notes to provide precise technical data, to ensure that we are competitive and also are providing an accurate proposal to the customers. So the non-engineering teams, what are sort of things that are limiting them from accessing the data from PLM itself? Could be a couple of things there. First one being the system not being user-friendly, not being easy to use. And this happens a lot with the non-engineering who would normally go into the system, once in 2 weeks to just look for certain information that they need. And because they take so long to get into the system or work with the system, they find it very difficult, or they sort of forget where to find that information, what is the right way to get to the information quicker, or to search for the information. Or the other thing could be a wrong file format. So if I'm someone who's in procurement department and I want to look at the drawing, that would mean I'll need to have a Creo license. If it's a Creo file that I need to access, I need to have a Creo license installed on my system to be able to open that file in Creo. And in an actual sense, I don't need a CAD tool to be able to do it. I just need a specific format like a PDF that I can simply open in my PDF reader and get the information that I want. So the other one could be the access restrictions, where the PLM system is set up in a way that it's only giving engineers an access to open up files, and then the non-engineers can just view without opening the files. So it still doesn't assess them, or even if they do have access to the files, they cannot open them because of the formats. And this basically lead to data integrity concerns because they end up relying on the engineering to get this information. And the problem with that is they do not know if the engineering is sharing with them the data that's released for production or for prototype, or is it the data that's still open for modification or that's still undergoing review, which then means if a change happens after they've shared the data with the non-engineering teams, if the change happens, chances are they won't share the latest output file with the procurement department, for an example, and they will be sitting with an out-of-date file that they can confirm that is its latest output. The other thing is the training requirements. So, like I said, if you don't touch the system that much, the PLM system that much, you only get in there once a month to find the information. You firstly might need training to be able to access that information, and then when you go in after a month to look for that information and you don't know how to, you can't remember how to find that information, you might need a refresher course, or you might need now to reference the training material or training booklet to sort of find how to get to that information. So you want to have a system that allows you, that doesn't limit you, that allows you to extend this access of data to all the departments that touches or needs to touch the product development data. So the tool that I'm going to show you, which is ETRAGE Viewer, allows you to scale up on the user base without that having to impact the license or the licensing, because it uses the site license. You only licensing the actual tool, and then you don't have a restriction if you need to scale up in terms of user base. So the drawing search node that I'm going to show, it's actually an extension of the ETRAGE Viewer, or the ETRAGE Viewer is the base for it. So what is ETRAGE Viewer? It's a role-based access application with simplified interface that allows the non-engineering team to be able to easily access information in a very permission-controlled environment as well. So you can set permissions based on a specific team. Example here could be if we need to share this data with the people on the shop floor, they don't need any data that's going that is in work or that is going under review. They only need access to the drawings that's been released. So we can give them permissions to only see the latest released drawings that they need to work with. Same with procurement. If they need to be able to access data that's in prototype so that they can source material for prototyping, we can set it in that way, that it allows them to see data that's in the prototype phase as well as the released for the production data. So the information is always current and always connected to your PLM environment. So based on specific triggers, such as when something is being released, a drawing will then be generated, or a PDF output will then be generated from the Windchill side through another ETRAGE publisher tool, and then that data is now pushed into the ETRAGE Viewer. And then this doesn't, include the manual updates. So this happens automatically based on those triggers. So at all material times, you would have the latest and greatest information in the system. Then for someone who is in purchasing or procurement department who would want to source material based on the drawings, they can easily, do a bulk export of the drawing files from the ETRAGE Viewer and send those out to the supplier or the vendor for material sourcing or component sourcing. And the tool that we're going to be focusing on today is the drawing node, that basically allows you to search for a drawing or drawing information beyond the part number. So it basically searches within the drawing file, the text, the notes, the specs, the vendor names that are created within the drawing. So if you've got things like quality inspection information on the notes, you can actually search against that information without having to search or remember the part number. This allows, obviously, access to these non-engineering teams to have access to key engineering information like BOM, materials, vendor or supplier details. And also allows them to quickly make decisions with fewer requests. So in the normal case, when they need this information, they will have to, go back to the engineering team, take some time away from them to ask them to generate this data for them. So in this case of the ETRAGE Viewer, they would be able to self-serve. And the nice thing is they only have access to the data at the right stage of that product development. So once the data is released, only at that point that the shop floor people will be able to have access to that data. Once the life cycle is in the prototype phase, only the procurement department will have access to that information because they need to source material and components at that time. Right, so now I'm going to show you how the tool works. So from the security point of view, every user in the system will have a username and password. So I'm logging in with my username and password. But to log in, so you'll also realize at the bottom here, it tells me that my username and password is incorrect. So let's have typed my username incorrect there. So let's rectify that. And now I'm logged into the ETRAGE viewer. And again, the training that you need to be able to use this system is actually here. So there's few steps that you see on here helps you to start using the system without having have gone through a training or a workshop and kind of a setup. So in here, you get a simple interface that has got a search function where you can simply type in the drawing number if you know the drawing number and then search for it. So in this case, I'm just going to hit search here. And what it does is it shows me all the components that I have in my system here. All the files, the drawings that I have in the system. And you'll also notice there's also metadata that is also coming from Creo, that is coming from Creo and Windchill, that is also captured on here. So things like the revision of that file is captured, the life cycle, and most importantly, the format that the users can access from here. So in this case, because it's a drawing, I can access a DXF, a PDF, and then a Creo view file for this particular drawing. It also shows me, which product, in which PLM or Creo product this file is coming from, and also a type for that. I can also see that based on my setup, it also showing me all the latest files that I have. If I click on the information icon, I can now see more details about this particular component or drawing. You can see how the drawing looks, all the metadata that goes with that drawing. There will be in other cases where a customer would require the additional metadata to also be exposed or pushed into the ETRAGE viewer. We are able to pull in those additional metadata from Windchill as well into the system. Then from here, I can simply download my PDF as a shop floor technician, and I'm able to see all the information that I need from this particular drawing. So just gonna go back. Then the other way of searching would be to use the advanced search. If I want to search against all the other attributes of my components. So in this case, I can go and say, I just want to search for anything that is still in an in-work lifecycle state. Then hit search, then it returns the one component that I have in my system that is in work state. And then from here, if this is a search that I would reuse time to time, I can go in and save the search for future use. Give it a name. In my components and save that. And then the next time I need to reuse the search, I'll just go into the saved search and then just rerun that search. And then it will bring in whatever results from the database. Yeah, so that is how you normally get find the data in the ETRAGE viewer. And there's additional things that you can do with that data that you have. So these are the additional modules or components that we have as part of ETRAGE that you can sort of use. So the bulk print simply allows you to pick a whole list of drawings that you wanna print, and then specify the printer that you wanna use to print this. Optionally, I can also specify my email address so that it notifies me once the printing has been completed. And then here I can bring in my Excel with a list of drawings that I want to print, drop them there, and then start the bulk printing. The second one works similar to bulk printing, but this is to download. So with the same sort of format of all list of drawings that I have in an Excel, I can use this to just pull that whole list as well, drop it in here, and then once all the drawings has been found in the ETRAGE viewer, I can then export them out as a zip file and send them out to my supplier. Some of the features here is the document insert, which allows me to manually add a document onto the viewer. So if I have a document that's sitting local on my PC, PDF, that I want to manually bring into my system, I can use that. PDF merge. Also, if I want to just put in or merge a couple of drawings together into one document that I want to send out as just one document, I can use this, bring in all the drawings that I want to merge together, and then merge those. So you have access to those add-ons that you can add on top of the ETRAGE viewer. Now back to the drawing node. So if I go in and just search for all the drawings that I have in the system, there's all the drawings I have, and then I go to the details page of one of my drawings here, you would see at the bottom here, I have an additional expand utility, and that is called drawing nodes. So if I expand this, it will then show all the drawing nodes that I would normally have in my drawing itself. So any text that's been indexed from my drawing, it would actually show in here. But what this also allows me to do, let me grab one that has some drawing nodes on it. So yeah, you'll see on this particular drawing here, I've got some drawing nodes in it. And if I go to the drawing, also open it in the PDF to just show you or just match that node there with those indexed drawing node details. What I can also do from ETRAGE viewer is I can actually search for that drawing node itself. So in this case, I just want to search for all the drawings or all the components that are using the rolled steel. Search for it. So you'll realize that it's not returning anything at this point. And the reason for that is because this search function, it's still looking at the document, the name and number document. So to be able to search for a drawing node, there is this icon over here. So if I select this icon, it then switches to the drawing node mode. Now, if I hit search, you'll see now it returns the drawing that are made out of rolled steel. And to just confirm this is if I go into there, expand this, you also see there that's the rolled steel. It will be the same with the other drawing. Go in here and simply. So if I have a lot of drawing nodes, I can also filter it down to just show me what I'm looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for something rolled. So I can now see that this is the rolled steel. So someone from purchasing can actually pull this particular search if they need to see how much steel and things like thickness of the steel, how much steel or material for rolled steel do they need for this particular product. So they will be able to simply pull that information, export it out, and then send it out to the vendor, or use that information to place the order on material. The other instance could be that we had a supplier that was basically supplying us with certain components or certain material, but now that supplier is no longer in business, so they're out of business. We now have to source out a new supplier. So in that case, if you have to manually do that, that would mean you have to go through every drawing that you have in the system, open it up and check which supplier were they using. Are they using the supplier that's gone out of business or not? If they were, you know those. But with this, it's quickly to get that information out by simply searching for that supplier. So in my case, this is the supplier that we used to use by steel. So I can simply search for that supplier in the drawing node, and then it lists all the drawings that are using this particular supplier. And if I go into just one of this to just show you that, we can see that the vendor has been captured in the drawing nodes was actually there. So from here, someone in purchasing department can just simply select all the drawings. Then we're using that old supplier, simply download them into a zip file, and then use this information to source for the new supplier. So use the PDFs, the GXFs that are in there to source for the new supplier. They don't have to rely on the engineering team to check that information for them and get that information for them. They can simply quick and easy find that information by searching through those drawing nodes. And now I just want to quickly show you the entire process from CAD tool into Windchill, and then how that data sort of ends up in the viewer here. So in Creo, I have a drawing that I've created called the demo drawing. And if I look for this drawing in ETRAGE, go quickly, demo drawing. Notice that this drawing is not in ETRAGE at the moment. It is not in the system at the moment. It's simply because the drawing is not released yet. It is still in the design phase. And now I just quickly added the note onto this drawing as well, with the information about material, the finish, tolerance, the assembly bit of it. So anything that I needed to capture for how this would get manufactured. So now I'll close out this drawing in here, and then I'll go back into Creo, into Windchill, to go through the process of releasing that part. So in a normal, production setting, the process of releasing this file could be through a change notice, take it through a change notice, gets approved, and it's now released, or it could be through a promotion process. So in this case, I'm not going to follow any of those. I'm just going to take that drawing and then change its state. Because I'm an administrator, I can set state to that file. So this is the drawing. I'll just release the drawing. I'm not going to release the part for now. I'm just going to release the drawing to show you that whole process. Drawing now released. So then what happens is you now get one component of PDS of the ETRAGE tool called PSW. So what this component does is it listens into Windchill for any event. So in our case, we have an event that says every time a file gets released, it must then be a trigger to send that file to ETRAGE viewer. So what I'll do is I'll start this. So this can be set automatically to start and listen in the system for a certain number of minutes. But in this case, I'm just going to manually start it. And what it is doing now is it's pulling that drawing, the demo drawing that I've created, opens it up in the Creo application, and uses the settings that we've set here to extract a drawing node from there, to generate a PDF, to generate a DXF, and to pull a representation, a 3D representation of this drawing, and then takes that and pushes it into the ETRAGE viewer. So yeah, it shows you what is happening in the background, and now it's now pushed that file into the system. So what the PSW is now doing is checking if there is any new entry that's triggered from the Windchill side, and if there's any, we'll then pick it up and push it into ETRAGE viewer as well. So now that the file has been generated, I can now go back to the ETRAGE viewer and search for that file now. And drawing .w. Now the file is there. It's been released, and if you go to the details of this file, we can also see when it was actually pushed in here. And because it has a drawing node as well, that drawing node information is also captured on here. So I can also use this information to search for the details of the drawing. So for instance, if I go and just search for the plastic material using my drawing node search, should return any drawing with that. So it has returned our drawing because it does have a plastic material information in the drawing node. Yep, that is all I wanted to show on the demo side. So I'll go back to the presentation. So the benefits of the drawing node, is that it saves time of fast and targeted searches. And as I said, if the example that I made about the vendor that's out of the business, then we now need to source a new vendor. And if you have to do that for 100 drawings, that means you'll need to open up each of those drawings and check what is the vendor for those drawings. Whereas with drawing node, you simply search for the vendor name and it will return all the drawings that are sourced, all the drawing of information about material or components that are sourced from that particular vendor. Again, it enables the self-service access to the other departments. They no longer have to rely or wait on the engineering to provide them information that might go out of date as soon as they receive it. And also it improves accuracy and reduces costly errors because you're getting the right information at the right time that you would need it, which in essence minimizes the rework and the miscommunication. That is all I wanted to share, and I'll turn things back to Sinead, see if there's any questions on the list, Sinead.
Yeah, if you have any questions at this time, feel free to type those in. Ephraim, while we wait to see if there's any questions, let's share with them some of our events over the next month. ETRAGE does typically do bi-monthly webinars. Our next one is in 2 weeks, where we'll look at the importance of Creo training when you're using Windchill or PLM system. Then we'll be in person at the Northeast Ohio PTC user group. If you are in Northeast Ohio, Southern Michigan, even in the corner of Pennsylvania, touching Ohio, and want more information, please reach out. We'll happily pass that along so that you can attend. Additionally, we have some Creo training coming up. We know that admin training for Creo is very, very hard to come by, and we will be running a class virtually on June 17th and 18th. And then lastly, ETRAGE does have an ECN add-on as well to our viewer. So if that is something you're looking at, having expanded visibility towards ECNs, please join us. Let's see. Looks like we have a couple of questions from the first one is, are you able to search any text on the drawings or only the notes?
Okay, so that depends on the customer requirements. So if they just need to search for the notes, each search can be configured to search specifically the notes. But if you need to index any other text, like the BOM table, the title block, that can also be indexed. So yeah, absolutely anything that is text on that drawing can be indexed.
I'm seeing two more questions. The next one is, Does this tool process only Creo drawings located in Windchill, or can it process Creo drawings from other PLM or network directories?
Yeah, the answer to that is it can process any Creo data from any source. So if it is on a network drive, there's a way we can configure the publisher to pull in the files from the local drive and indexes it, creates the node indexes, and then push that into the ETRAGE viewer. And again, if it's Creo data or Creo drawing coming from any other PLM tool, like Team Center, that data can also be indexed.
Last one I'm seeing right now, so if you have an additional question, please get it in. Can I restrict the tool from indexing certain drawings, maybe by life cycle state?
Answer to that, yes, you can. You cancel it against the life cycle. So it's a configuration that you do on the PSW side to say, if this is in work, just exclude the drawing node export format and only do that while it is in a specific state, like released or prototype. Yes, you can.
Great. If you have additional questions, we're going to share our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll happily connect with you. Additionally, ETRAGE does offer trials. So if you are interested in seeing what this software looks like by touching it and having different departments try it out to see if this may be a good solution in the future, let us know. We'll happily set you up with that. And with that, we'll say thank you very much for attending today's webinar. We'll see you next time.